Hey crafty friends, it's Lisa, your DIY diva. Have you ever scrolled through home decor catalogs or even Pinterest and felt that pang of, I love this, but I can't afford it? Well, that stops today because you deserve a home that makes you smile every time you walk through the door, no matter the season. And I'm here to show you exactly how to make that happen. Today, we're going to be creating 7 brand new Christmas crafts, and trust me, no one will ever believe that you made these yourself. So on my last outing to Dollar Tree, I found this awesome little glass container. I have never seen these before. I don't know if it's a regular thing, but I thought this would be perfect for a Christmas craft. And I also had these Crafter Square, I think they're coasters, in my stash. Hopefully you can find these. So it's just a round coaster that I'm going to secure that glass candle holder to. So I'm just going to use a little bit of B7000 and put the candle holder on top. Now I've had these small ornaments. I love Christmas ornaments. I just keep collecting them, but I thought these would make a really nice addition all the way around the outside of the container. So what I'm going to do is, using my hot glue gun, I'm going to secure the ornaments all the way around the candle holder. And I'm just going to work my way around the glass. And I'm alternating the ornaments so that it's going to basically be a pattern. So I have a red ornament, gold, green, and then silver. And I'm just going to continue that pattern all the way around. And by putting the hot glue onto the back of the ornament, it's actually hitting the coaster part. So it's not being secured to the glass itself, but it's the coaster on the bottom. And when I got to the very end, an ornament wouldn't fit. So I'm going to do something different in that spot. I'm just going to add a little bit of something extra right in that front part. So I took these different pieces of pine. Again, I've had these in my stash probably for at least 2 years. So I'm just going to cut off little individual pine pieces and I'm going to hot glue them to the glass. By taking those small individual pieces, it makes it a lot easier so I can actually control the pattern of what I want this to look like. And I really like how the pine looks right in that open area. So I thought it would look really nice to continue the pieces of pine all the way around, kind of tucked in behind the ornaments. And then I added a couple of pine cones. Now I want to add something into the center, so into the glass. So I had this Epsom salt that I mixed in some glitter with, and I just poured that into the candle holder. It kind of looks like snow. Now on that same trip to Dollar Tree, I found these LED votive candles, and the best part about this is the batteries were included. To me, that was really great. They come in a 2-pack and they have this ivory color and they also had white. So what I'm going to do is just take a couple of those candles and put them into my glass candle holder. The nice thing about the LED candles is you don't have to worry that it's going to start a fire. It's not going to get too hot, but it does put off a lot of light. And look at how pretty and flickering these candles look. I know they're not real, but I think it's a great addition. Very colorful for my Christmas decorating this year. Now for this project, I got these wooden blocks on Amazon. So this is great if you want to do scrap wood projects, but you don't have any scrap wood and you don't have a saw that you can cut them down. You can actually buy really nice wood on Amazon. And I found these 4 mini ornaments at Walmart. They have some beautiful Christmas ornaments this year, and I thought these would be really pretty put onto a piece of wood. And I know they have these ornaments at Walmart right now because I literally just saw them today. But these are so pretty and they look kind of like quilted pieces. And I want them to have a wood backing. So I was playing around with this piece of wood that I had stained, and I really like that look, but it's not big enough. I want it to be larger. So I took 2 more scrap pieces of wood that I had already stained, and I used some Dollar Tree wood glue to secure them together. Thankfully, they were the same size. And before I secure anything down, I like to play around with the pattern or the design that I want to create. So this way I can make sure this is something that I really like before I make it permanent. So after I figured out the pattern that I wanted, a white ornament, then a red ornament, then a white ornament, I took some B7000 to secure each of the ornaments onto the wood. Even though this adhesive doesn't give you the instant stick that hot glue does, this type of an adhesive will keep each of those ornaments nice and flat against the wood. But you don't have to use this. You can also use wood glue as well, or even your hot glue gun. And for just a couple of dollars, I was able to create this really pretty piece that I can use anywhere in my Christmas decorating. I love buying little tiny ornaments like this and then adding them to something else to make something really special and unique. Now this is another scrap piece of wood from that wooden blocks box that I bought, and of course I stained it. I like to stain a lot of the different sizes of wood when I first get it because I don't know what I'm going to be using it for in the future, and if it's already stained, that's one less thing that I have to do. So after it was stained, I wanted to give it more of a rustic or distressed look, so I just took my mini hand sander and just sanded all of the edges and sanded away some of the stain. And if you're going to do this project, after you sand everything, it's also a good idea to wipe away the dust that's created from sanding. And you might want to clean up your workspace too. That way that dust doesn't transfer to your projects. Next I have this Christmas tree ornament that I got at Hobby Lobby. They come in a 4-pack for $2.99, but of course right now you can get Christmas ornaments and Christmas everything at Hobby Lobby for 50% off. And once I removed the hanger from the top, then I used the B7000 again to secure it to the piece of wood. Look at how easy that was. I'm telling you, these projects are so easy, but it makes such a big impact. If you wanted to embellish this and add some extras, you could do that, but sometimes it's nice to add just a few simple pieces to your decorating for each season. And I think this is a perfect addition. Now I know it doesn't look like it, but these are remnants from a Dollar Tree pumpkin or 2. And I was going to turn these into smaller pumpkins, but that didn't happen. So they are now going to be a part of my Christmas decorating. But I have to cover up that orange paint. So I'm just using some Folk Art cream colored paint, and I'm just going to paint each of these little blocks with that cream colored paint. And I had already pre-drilled holes into the top. That was where the stem was going to go. And I covered that up with a little bit of spackling. Each of these pieces, I did 2 coats of this acrylic paint on before I moved on to the next step. And for this next step, I'm going to be painting some tiny little wooden Christmas trees. And I find it best if I secure the smaller wood pieces down before I start painting them, and then I won't paint my fingers. So I used a little bit of painter's tape, and then I took some Folk Art sage paint and painted each of the Christmas trees. And I think you can see that by securing each of the trees down to the painter's tape, it makes it a lot easier to paint. But I wasn't quite happy with that sagey green on its own, so I did come back with another green and just painted over the sage green, but I do want to see some of the sagey green showing through, so I did it while the first layer of paint was wet. And this is a snowflake that I got from Hobby Lobby. They come in the sets. It's like a whole bunch of different wood snowflakes. And I thought these would make a really nice accent as well. So I used some white acrylic paint and painted a couple of the snowflakes white. Again, I've got the wooden snowflake secured to the painter's tape, so that way it's not moving around and it can make sure to paint the entire surface of the snowflake. And while the snowflakes were drying, I took a couple more of those wooden blocks and I painted them a Christmas red. I really like the red, and with the white accent, it just kind of pops. Next, I came back with some distressing ink and I just added a little bit of that to each of the blocks that I just painted. And these are the smaller distressing inks, which are wonderful for adding little accents to smaller pieces. You just brush it across the surface. And once the paint had time to dry and the ink, and after figuring out where I want each of these little pieces of wood to go on top of the blocks, then I just secured them in place with some B7000. Again, it doesn't have the instant stick that hot glue does, but it works really well to get a permanent bond, and the part that I'm gluing in place isn't raised up away from the block. And once the trees were done, then I came back with the snowflakes and put some B7000 onto the back, and then I secured one snowflake to each red block of wood. Again, something so simple and so easy, but they look fantastic. And I have them sitting on a tiered tray right now, and these are really nice smaller pieces that you can add, or if you're into selling your crafts, you could make a whole bunch of these and make them available affordably in your craft booth. Now this is a remnant piece of 2x6 wood that I had from a project at my home. And I don't like throwing wood away. So if I have larger scrap pieces like this, I keep them and then sand them down because I know there's something that I can make with them for my decorating, no matter the season. So I just coated the entire piece of wood with some white chalk paint. And in case you're wondering, this is Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Cotton. I really like this Dixie Belle chalk paint. With a project like this, you can get full coverage with just one coat of paint. And I found this Christmas tree print on Creative Fabrica. I will leave a link in the description box for you. If you like this, you can go download it. And it's something simple, but again, something really nice to add to your Christmas decorating. So once the Dixie Belle paint had dried, I did add a coat of Mod Podge. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to decoupage this print onto this piece of wood. This is a really great way to decoupage without any wrinkles at all. So I just use my heat press and press the image onto the wood. And then I gave it plenty of time to cool down. Then I came back with my mini hand sander and sanded away the excess paper. And the paper that I'm using is actually a matte photo paper, which I was able to put into my home printer and get a really nice quality print. And the micro hand sander is great for taking off the edges of a project like this if you want to have a nice clean edge, but you don't want to use scissors. And once all of the excess paper was sanded away, I did come back and sand all around the edges because, again, I like a rustic look, so I wanted to take off some of that extra paint on the sides and the top. Again, another super simple project, but something that really does pack a punch. And while I'm sitting here watching myself do this craft, I just realized I could actually put another image on the back and I could flip it around and then I could have two projects in one. Now this is a fence picket that I've had for a while and I knew I could use it for a project. So what I want to do is turn this into a snowman. So I had a couple of paint stir sticks that I cut down. This is going to be the brim of the hat for the snowman. And I took two of them and glued them together and then used some Dollar Tree clamps to secure both of those pieces of wood in place while the glue was drying. Then I came back with the Dixie Belle chalk paint and I painted the bottom half of the wooden picket with the white chalk paint, which again is the color cotton. I made sure to paint the sides as well as the bottom. And once that had dried, I came back with some black acrylic paint. I didn't have any chalk paint, so I just used black acrylic paint and I painted the remaining portion of the picket with the black paint. It's not going to matter if it's exactly perfect from where the black and the white meet up, because that's where the brim is going to go. And remember, the brim is the two pieces of the paint stir stick that I had glued together. Now, once all of the paint had dried, I came back with my mini hand sander and I just sanded away some of the paint. I didn't want it to have a freshly painted look, so by using the sander, that's going to remove some of the paint and give the project a more rustic appearance. So I did that on the brim as well as the black portion of the picket. And you can remove as little or as much of the paint as you like. Now, one thing, if you are going to be doing this project, I would switch out the sandpaper when you go from the black to the white. Otherwise, the black is going to drag into the white. So I'm really just focusing on the white area of the picket now. And again, just removing some of that paint because I want it to look old and kind of worn and rustic. Then I took some Dollar Tree wood glue and I secured the brim in place of the hat. Then I came back with some different pine pieces and I'm going to put that on one side of the hat. I also find if I use individual pieces, like little individual stems, it looks a lot more cohesive and the project looks a lot more intentional. So that would be my advice for this project. To get this look, you've just got to use smaller pieces and glue them in place individually. So now I want to make a bow. So I'm going to take a bunch of different fabric scraps and I'm going to cut smaller pieces off and then I'm going to stack them up on top of each other. And if you want to get a more rustic or country or farmhouse type look for your bows, and this is just a rustic bow, I find that it works really well just to tear the pieces of fabric and not have the straight crisp line from a scissors. And while I was stacking the different fabrics on top of each other, you can see I have a zip tie underneath. I got a package of zip ties at Dollar Tree and these are wonderful if you're making bows like this. So I'm just alternating the fabric, and then once I have enough of the fabric, I'm going to just tighten up that zip tie. And then I just cut away the excess, put a little bit of hot glue around the zip tie itself, and then I'm going to secure another piece of fabric over top. That way the zip tie is covered and it just looks like a messy bow. And there really isn't a right or a wrong way how to do this. You can do whatever you want. I like to mix and match my colors, so that's why I keep all of my fabric scraps, because I know I can use them for an upcoming project. So then I needed to make a nose for my snowman. So then I created some noses in Creative Space. Now that's the software program for Xtool. And this is the Xtool M1 Ultra 4-in-1 crafting machine. And this is what I was able to cut out. It took maybe about 6 minutes to cut out all of these pieces. So I know I'm going to be doing more snowman crafts, so I made a few different snowman noses. And then I came back inside and tested out the different noses that I had made for my snowman on the snowman itself. I have lots of different sizes, so I'm so excited to use these snowman noses in upcoming projects. But I really like that one. I think that's probably the nose that I'm going to use. That one's a little too large. I think the smaller one is the size that's going to work best for this snowman. Since I'm going to be painting the wood, I'm going to use some painter's tape and I'm going to secure the nose in place. But I'm also going to be painting the eyes as well as the mouth of the snowman using some half round wooden beads. And I don't have a lot of sizes of these beads, so I think the smaller ones are going to work better for both the mouth as well as the eyes for the snowman. So once I practiced and saw what the face is going to look like, then I painted the individual wooden pieces. And when I'm painting, I like to blend my colors, so I took 2 different shades of orange paint to paint the nose. And then for the eyes and the mouth, I'm just going to use black acrylic paint. So I started with the darker orange first for my carrot nose and gave it 1 coat of the paint. Then I came back with a fan brush in the lighter orange and just dragged that down from one side of the wood to the other. And while that was drying, I worked on the beads with the black paint. And once these wood pieces were dried, then I arranged them in place on the snowman. And again, I used the B7000 adhesive to secure everything in place. But this is why I like to put the pieces in place first before I secure them with glue, because I may change my mind of where I want each piece to go. So by having them in place, I can kind of play around a little bit with the pieces as I'm securing them in place. And once I was done with the snowman's face, then I came back and secured the bow in place on his hat. So I used a little bit of hot glue on the brim of the hat, and I put a little bit on the back of the bow as well. And I tried to make sure that all of those pieces of fabric are facing upright when I secured it to the hat. Then I couldn't decide which snowflakes I wanted to use on the snowman's hat. I know I wanted to use one on the bow as well as the hat itself, but I had made those wooden snowflakes and I liked those, but I also really liked the rusty metal too. And in the end, the rusty metal stars won, so I glued a star to the top of the hat as well as to the center of my bow. And I wanted to add something just a little bit extra to the bow. So I had this bag of decorative shreds. It's pretty much just shredded up and crimped like paper bag material, but I thought that would look nice kind of tucked in and coming in and out around the bow. And I did get that at Dollar Tree. And I don't know if you've ever thought of using something like those decorative shreds for anything other than packaging, but that's what's fun about crafting is you get to look at things in different ways. So just because something has one purpose or one original use in mind doesn't necessarily mean you need to use it that way. And I thought my snowman could use a little bit of snow on his hat and his nose. So I came back with some Fast and Final spackling and I put a little bit of that onto the nose of the snowman as well as the brim and the top of his hat. It was a little bit challenging to get that spackling to stay in place, so I did come back with some white puffy paint and I added that on top of the spackling. I also came back with some white paint and added catch lights to his eyes. So this is what the snowman looks like in my craft room right after I had finished crafting it. You can see a little bit of that puffy paint on top of the spackling. I like that because it gives a different layer of dimension or texture to the project. This snowman is so adorable. This was such a fun project. I love how the snowman turned out, and I really didn't have to spend any money to create this. I made the snowman using things that I already had. I really hope that you enjoyed crafting with me today. And here's the thing, every single project that you create isn't just about saving money. It's also about proving to yourself that you can create these different projects and you can make some really nice pieces one DIY at a time. Now, if today's Christmas crafts inspired you, be sure to hit that subscribe button because I post new budget-friendly projects every single week. And I don't want you to miss a single way to transform your space. Remember, crafting isn't about how much money you spend. It's about the love and creativity that you put into each and every project. Until next time, stay crafty and keep creating.